Deadlock just got its biggest update ever, and with it came a bunch of new heroes. But since everyone wants to play them, you probably end up playing more against them than as them. Or you're a Bebop one trick. And while the new heroes are incredibly overpowered as always, there are ways to beat them. This is one counter against every new hero in Deadlock.
What's up friends, this is Metro. I've been playing high level Deadlock for over a year and I also don't have any social life, which means I have 20 games plus on every single one of the new characters, so I think I have a really good idea on how to play them, but I also have a really good idea on how to counter them. We'll go from Celeste to Graves first, because those two characters seem to be the ones that most people are struggling with, but we'll talk about every single new hero. So Celeste right now, even after the recent nerfs to her, is by far the strongest of the new characters. And a lot of people seem to be struggling with her, and I'm not gonna lie to you, her entire kit is just insanely strong right now, but she works in a very specific way, and once you know how she works, you can counterplay it. And the main damage Celeste does is from her one ability. Her one ability, Light Eater, makes it so when it's active on you as the enemy, it will give her Spirit Lifesteal, a huge amount by the way. On level 2 it's already 35%, and every single time she auto attacks you or she like light melees you, you will take bonus damage, and every single time she hits you, she will get health back. And that's really what makes Celeste so strong, other than the ultimate. Spell number 2 or spell number 3, the shield and Radiant Daggers have counters, okay? Radiant Daggers you can dodge, right? Like it's a pretty big AoE, but it takes a long time to cast down, so you can dodge these. So especially if we're talking about lane, and we're gonna talk about lane first, Light Eater is what makes her strong and allows her to trade with you. Downside number 1 is it's a pretty short range on base, okay? So she has to get pretty close to you to hit it. So if you play mid-range and you don't go close range against her, she won't actually deal a lot of damage. Her main gun or her base gun damage is really low. If you get hit by Light Eater, that is really when you can't trade against her at all. Because as soon as she puts the debuff on you, and this debuff lasts for quite a while, it lasts for 12 seconds actually, every single hit she does, again, she will heal and you will take more damage, so it's going to be really hard to trade efficiently against her, okay? And when Light Eater is down, she's actually quite weak, especially against gun damage. She now has negative bullet resistance on base, so she dies or she takes a lot of damage against gun damage. Which brings me to my next tip against her. In general, she's not the tankiest character, okay? So in a fight, if you can burst her down first, if you can catch her first, she's actually a quite killable character, okay? I know she has the shield, but if you can get her down low, it is worth bursting through the shield to kill her. Tip number 3, following up on that, if she is not low, so you won't be able to kill her in the next few seconds, do not pop her shield. If you pop her shield and she is, you know, not low enough, you will be silenced for a very long time. You will take damage from the shield, and she will be very happy if you pop it, right? Like that's a big part of Celeste's kit. So you want to be very aware of, is she low enough to where it's value to break the shield? So is she like 1/3 or below? Or is she like high enough to where it will hurt me way more than me breaking the shield and hurting her? Against the ultimate, and this is, I see this especially in low ranks, it does a lot of damage, but there are counters to it. The first thing you should do is try to get away from your allies. If you realize Celeste is casting her ultimate on you, the way it works is it bounces to other enemies, right? So if you're isolated and nobody else is in range, it will do nothing. It will do 1 dot of damage, and then it just will stay there. And if you see this animation, all you have to do is wait a few seconds longer and it disappears, okay? So that's how you counter it. So if you're aware in a fight that you have that aura around you, that means the ball is currently on you and you definitely do not want to run to your teammates, but you also don't want to run to your lane creeps or jungle creeps, because this ultimate does bounce off both jungle creeps and lane creeps, okay? And I think once people get more used to this, it will do less, but that's really all I can give you in terms of gameplay that you can apply. What items can you buy to make her weaker or make her weaker against you? A really big one that I don't see people consider enough is Dispel Magic. Dispel Magic is actually a great buy against her, because it gives you spirit resist. Celeste damage is 90% plus spirit damage, even if she builds gun items. But the important part is, you can actually cleanse the Light Eater off, okay? So if Celeste jumps you, usually what she does is she puts Light Eater on one or multiple people, and then she tries to focus down those people. And in earlier fights, it's usually one person. That's how I play on Celeste. You go in, you go on one person, and then you try to burst them down while they have the Light Eater debuff, right? So if you have Dispel Magic, and you just cleanse off the Light Eater, I now have, even with the upgrade, I now have 10 seconds where I can't really do a lot of damage to you. In fact, I will do basically no damage to you, and I'll try to like run away, kite back, and use Radiant Daggers, right? Otherwise, stuff like, you know, Spirit Resist, Spellbreaker, you know, the classics against spirit characters, I can also recommend. If a Celeste is giga farmed and you feel like she does a lot of left click damage, so if you see Celeste running Spellslinger in the late game where she shoots really fast, she still does spirit damage to you, but you can consider something like a Disarming Hex, because if she can't shoot, she can't do damage to you. If you see Celeste built for the 3, which is also built, where she puts a lot of range on the 3, I've seen people run Ballistic Enhancement on Radiant Daggers or something like Greater Expansion. You just really kind of want to try to not clump up as a team, so this doesn't get as much value, okay? And that's everything I have for Celeste, and I know that's not that much, but it's really because the character is really strong right now, but as time goes on, I think people will get better at dealing with her, and I'm sure she's gonna get another nerf down the line. I love providing educational content, and it really means a lot to me that it resonates with so many people. And with the Deadlock Academy, we are gonna provide the best content on the internet for coaching in Deadlock, period. I offer classes every week to help you climb in no time, and we also have many more courses by hand-picked pro players and pro coaches. And there is really no better people I could think of to help you teach the game to make you a better player. We also do weekly coach scrims where you jump in to improve while just playing the game. Right now there's a 30-day free trial. Just try it out, see how it goes, and I think the results will speak for themselves. Next up, we're going to talk about Graves, and Graves is doing really well, especially in low rank. But this character actually has quite a lot of weaknesses that people do not consider. Graves will only be able to trade with you efficiently if she gets in range and hits you. And Graves' auto attack range is actually quite low, okay? So the very first thing you want to do, especially in lane, is try to stay off her auto attack range, okay? She can only trade if she's in that range, and most characters, even shotgun characters, can trade efficiently outside of her range, okay? Tip number 2 for the skulls: if she throws them directly at you, one light melee, they break. I still fuck this up, and I see a lot of people fuck it up. The skulls stay active for way too long because you don't break them. Take your time to break the skulls, especially if she's building spirit heavy, because after the skulls are broken, she is actually quite weak. Avoid fighting into a gravestone unless you can break it fast. Gravestone is an amazing area denial tool. This character was designed to be an area denial character, and with the recent changes to gravestone, zombies spawn even faster, but it doesn't last as long. So you really gotta respect the gravestone. When you see graves, put down the gravestone, try to kite back a bit and try to wait the gravestone out, or double heavy melee it right away. There's a few characters in the game that can actually break the tombstone quite easily. Mostly Billy and Viscous. Both Puddle Punch and maxed out Billy 1 counter as heavy melees, so 2 of those spells can actually break the tombstone right away. Otherwise, anything AoE is really good against her, right? So if you're playing a character that has AoE spells, that does AoE damage, using your spells to do AoE damage and nuking the zombies in the ult is quite good. 7 comes to mind with 7 lightning balls, 7-3, or even something like Celeste again with the 3, where you can spam and clear where you can use your 3 and clear the zombies quite easily. Otherwise, the longer you fight against Graves, the longer she auto-attacks you, the stronger she becomes and the weaker you become, right? You have to consider that, especially if you're a gun character. If she was on you for 4+ seconds, you will do a significantly lower amount of gun damage to her, and she will also be tankier to your spirit. Fast trades are key against Graves, right? Trying to burst her down or trying to go on her first is actually a lot of the time a really good idea, because on base she's not really that tanky, right? And if she builds very tanky, you just stay out of her range, shoot everyone else and ignore her in the fight and deal with her last. Because if she builds really tanky, if she has a lot of greens, she will basically do no damage to you, right? So it really depends on the build here. Try to check out what the Graves is running. If she's running a lot of gun items, stay out of her range. If she's running a lot of her spirit, prioritize meleeing the skulls. And if she's building very tanky, ignore her and kill everyone else on the enemy team first. And that's kind of how you deal with Graves. She's frustrating to play against because she's auto-aim, right? You will have to play better than her. She will have to put in lower effort, right? I don't mind that there's easier characters in the game. And I think Graves is a great way for new character or new players that are not really aim intensive to get into the game, but that's how you counter Graves. Next up, we're gonna talk about Apollo, the latest edition, and I want to say people are not struggling against him as much, but I think that is partially due to Apollo being a really hard character. And once Apollo players learn how to play the character, you will realize more and more how insanely strong the character is right now. In high rank, he's considered like a top 3 character, and he is crazy. And the main reason Apollo is crazy is because of his 2 and his 3 ability, okay? Those are like the main 2, and you might think ult is crazy, but I have a lot of tips for you. His gun damage is actually quite weak in lane, and he will not really be able to trade against you efficiently. He's also very bad at farming jungle and farming creeps. So in lane, the main damage he will have against you is the 3 attack or the 1 attack if he gets kind of close, okay? But the 1, he has to be pretty close to you where you can actually trade efficiently. Once he uses Flawless Advance and you realize he lunges at you with the first lunge, you wanna take cover. This is a crazy ability, and it will trade well against you because it will also heal him and it will do a massive amount of damage. So all you have to do is after he hits you with the first one, take cover, and he's gonna have a hard time getting the 2 other 3s off, okay? If you are trading straight up against the 3, a good Apollo will win the trade every time. As long as you don't get hit 3 times in a row, you will be fine. And then after, again, Apollo is actually quite weak because the 3 cooldown is quite long, and then all he has is his riposte, his counter, and his sigil. And the sigil is a bit of damage, but not crazy, okay? Next tip, against riposte, try to bait it out by just shooting him. The stun, even if he hits it on you, is quite low. It's only 0.6 seconds. Bait out the riposte. If he used the riposte against like one of your auto attacks, one light melee or something, he will be very susceptible to your actual spells after, right? So save big stuns and big damage abilities until after riposte. I've played against a lot of Yamatos in lane specifically today. A lot of Yamatos just walked into me and charged up their 1, and then I would get a free riposte, negate all the damage of a 1, and I would trade efficiently, right? So the key is to bait out riposte with smaller abilities, and after he used his 3 and his 2, he's a sitting duck. He does nothing, right? He can't really get away fast until later in the game, even with disengaging sigil. I know it's called disengaging, but you jump back a tiny bit, and Apollos won't max this early. Usually, so they will not have a lot of stamina to get away. Which brings me to my next tip. All the damage right now that Apollo does is actually spirit based, okay? And the ult seems like it does an insane amount. And it does an insane amount of bonus damage when an enemy is below 50% HP. But that also means this is one of the best characters in the game to buy Spellbreaker and Spirit Resilience on. In general, any sort of Spirit Resist works really well because he has multiple instances on the 3 of spirit damage, so you will reduce more and more damage, right? And on the ult, the bonus damage is gonna be significantly weaker because even the bonus damage is considered spirit damage. So I had it in the later game around like 20 to 25 minutes where I had people below 50% HP. I used ult and it did like no damage to them, especially Spellbreaker. Once you get Spellbreaker against this character, he is really, really weak. He's probably the hardest character in the game, countered by Spirit Resilience. Because again, other than his spirit damage, he really has nothing. And the last way to counter Apollo and counter Apollo hard, slowing Hex absolutely destroys him. Flawless Advance counts as a movement ability, and you only have a few seconds to recast. So after the first cast, if you slowing Hex Apollo, he will not be able to cast Flawless Advance again, basically removing his entire ability. Plus, slowing Hex also works against the ultimate, okay? So any slow ability, even like something like Billy Chain, really fucks with Apollo. And the very last thing is, the ultimate has quite a long cast time. You can cancel it with stuns, or you can burst him down during his cast. It's quite forgiving actually. And a lot of the time, the enemy Apollo might end up dying before he can get the ultimate off. Next up, Silver, and she recently got buffed even though she was already crazy. So this character is really, really strong right now. But I see a lot of misconceptions about Silver. She is not strong in base form. She does not do the highest amount of damage in base form. Her entire goal is to get into werewolf form. And once she is in werewolf form, she's the strongest character in the game. Werewolf form is better than any other character's base kit because you're insanely tanky. So what do? On lower levels, she is quite tanky, but she doesn't do that much damage. You can trade against her quite well, and she will not really be scary until she gets ult in lane, okay? So that's tip number 1. Don't respect her too much in lane. Make sure to get last hits. She has trouble last hitting, she has a very low fire rate, and she has trouble bursting you, okay? Otherwise, this character is a close range character. In order to get into werewolf form, she needs to use the combo, and the combo usually is like a 3-2-1, right? Where she goes in, tangles you, then kicks you, and then does the one combo where she hits the 1 3 times. And at that point, she might get into werewolf form. What you want to do is, you want to burst her down before she gets into werewolf form, or if she is about to get into werewolf form, if you know she dealt like a decent amount of damage to you, is where you want to step away. Unless she's really low, you want to step away. Because if she gets into werewolf form and she's not super low, she will kill you, right? Kite the werewolf form. What kiting is you walk away from her while shooting her and you try to keep your distance. In team fights, if she's in werewolf form, run away from the werewolf, focus other people. She's really tanky in werewolf too. Werewolf stays alive and does more damage the closer she is to you. The one especially, right, in werewolf that gets her health back is a melee ability. So try to get away from her. She only has one ability to catch up to you. She has one leap and that's it. And every other ability and her auto attacks are basically melee range. So stay out of melee range if she gets into werewolf form. Tip number 2, anything slowing against her is quite good as well, because you won't be able to use her boot kick. In general, just stay out of like very close range, because if she is into very close range with you, she can get the boot kick off, right? And then she can get the combo off and get into werewolf. So both against the base form and the werewolf form, you kind of want to play mid to long range if you can, or nuke her down instantly. Items that really actually fuck with her are both Metal Skin and Disarming Hex. All her abilities are very gun-based, or most of her abilities are very gun-based and do a lot of gun damage, right? So you can use Metal Skin against the werewolf form and it will do less damage to you. Just like you can use Metal Skin to basically disrupt and cancel any damage from the slam fire, which is going to be double beneficial to you, because A, she's not going to do damage to you, and B, she won't build ultimate charge, which means she won't get into werewolf as fast, right? Disarming Hex is a great alternative as well, just to make her able to not shoot as much. You really do want to kill her, or try to avoid taking damage from her if you don't want to kill her, so she doesn't get into werewolf. If you go into the fight and you give her werewolf right away, you're probably fucked and you want to run away, okay? Next up, we're gonna talk about Venator. Venator is like the true gun carry of this patch. He just recently got quite a lot of changes and his ult got a bit weaker while the rest of his kit got stronger. The tips I'll give you against him are gonna be useful no matter what. First off, he's actually quite weak in lane. His 1 doesn't do a significant amount of damage and he has to be pretty close range to you to hit it consistently on you. And his 2 will basically be useless unless you are standing right next to a wall, right? That's how he gets value. He stuns you into the wall and then he can follow up and actually deal damage to you, right? So stay mid-range, and mid-range he actually doesn't do that much gun damage. You can trade against him quite well. He's actually quite squishy as like a carry character, I want to say, even later until the late game. Avoid close quarters, avoid hallways, and you can see the traps, by the way, right? I see a lot of people, the traps are visible to you at all times on the floor. They're purple, they're kind of easy to miss, but you can shoot them and one bullet of anything will destroy the traps, right? So as soon as you see a trap, shoot the trap and be aware of chasing a Venator in hallways or fighting a Venator in close quarters, because that's really where he will excel, because that's when he will hit traps on you. That's when he will hit the 1 and the 2 consistently on you and deal a lot of damage. So fight him on open ground. Against his ultimate, take cover. If you hear the ultimate sound, it only lasts for 15 seconds. And during that time, just play cover, okay? The first shot is probably not gonna kill you unless you were really low anyways. So it's okay to take 1 shot. After that, as long as you play cover, you will be fine, okay? Wait the ult out and then engage him, because after the ult is over, he is actually quite weak. Another tip I can give you is, this character is a great character to kill first in a fight. He's actually quite squishy, even if he builds a lot of greens compared to other carry characters. He can die very easily if he gets caught out. He really wants to kind of play behind his team. So if you see an opportunity as a team to catch a Venator first, going on him first is quite strong. And Metal Skin is like the best counter item in the game for him, because it will negate most of his damage, including his ult, by the way. His ult will do 0 damage to you if you have Metal Skin active. So if he's ulting you, activate Metal Skin, and if you're in the open, right, and you get caught, Metal Skin will still save your ass. If you don't have Metal Skin, you can counter spell. If you predict, you can counter spell an ult shot, so that works as well. So Metal Skin is great, counter spell is very playable, and otherwise fight him on open ground, try to kill him first, and he should not be the biggest issue for you. And last but not least, we're gonna talk about Rem. If you're struggling against Rem, I feel like you're probably struggling in lane. Rem is very good in lane when he puts little helpers on his creeps. You do need to kill the creeps. If he puts it on his healing creep, it's quite tough to win the lane that way because you can't kill the healing creep, so you can't get healed. Try to kill the creeps first. Stay out of his range early on, or try to avoid many trades until he doesn't have helpers anymore, okay? If he doesn't have helpers, he himself is quite squishy, right? He's a very squishy character. And you can trade against him. Pillow Toss in lane is not super scary. He doesn't do much damage without his little helpers, without his minions being buffed, okay? In fights, in general, focusing him first can be a really good idea because he can die very easily. You can use Slowing Hex to disarm his tag-along. He cannot use tag-along while he's slowed or silenced. And that's like his way out, right? Like the way Rem survives in teamfights is he jumps to his teammates. He himself is a sitting duck, really. Try to use Slowing Hexes against him. You can buy Counter Spell to counter nap time. It's quite a forgiving timing, so it's a great counter to nap time. Otherwise, at 8 minutes, a lot of Rem players will try to steal your Sinners with the little helpers. If the enemy has a Rem, you really want to be aware to be at your Sinners, especially your doubles at 8 minutes, and make sure you secure them or contest the Rem that is trying to steal them. They recently changed it in the latest patch that if Rem is stealing your Sinners, as soon as you hit the Sinner, the helper will get scared and run away, and then you can finish them. So if you want to play super advanced, you can do stuff like wait for the enemy Rem to get your Sinners to low, and then you get the last hit and you get most of the money, and you won't lose a lot of HP because the enemy Rem did the most work for you, okay? So there is counterplay to Rem. Just be aware that he's very good at stealing your jungle. And against Rem, you also want to be aware of side lanes because a lot of Rems come to the side lane, put little helpers, like 4 little helpers on creeps and push the wave that way. So be aware of your waves and be aware of your towers because you can lose them. And that's about it. I hope that was somewhat helpful. You let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and please let me know if you would love to see this type of video for every single character. I didn't want to, this has already been a while. If you want to see this for every single character, let me know. We'll see how well this video does. Yeah, until next time. See you, friends. Bye-bye.